And we're back. Almost June. Got all 5 tiles on. I'm not sure how this happens the week after regionals, or West prelims. My apologies. West and East prelims. Just kidding. Sorry, Sir Lucius. You were the oddball out last week. But yet we are here and we're smiling, we're breathing, and ready to go. So welcome back for another fun episode of Athletics LLC, season 5 in full effect. 2 quarters in the carousel, not even quarters yet. I think we're still at dimes. How are you tonight?
I survived a real Midwest tornado, and I never want to see another one.
Sheesh. Governor?
I would say the same for me. Woke up on Sunday morning and saw the debris all over the place, and then I had to hear about athletes getting stuck on the elevator, and I'm going, this was 1:30 in the morning.
I was just going to say that.
I'll leave that alone. And then, hearing about the damage, I mean, prayers up to the folks in Bentonville and Rogers, but Manchester United FA Cup champions. I'm doing great.
Yeah, you're pretty fired up there, bro.
I am.
Sir Lucius, how are you?
I'm well. I seem to be fighting off a bit of a cold, but other than that, I'm rolling. I'm doing really well.
Amazing. Last, never least, 2 quarters in the carousel. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I don't get to complain because I'm only fatigued from watching you guys work. So at the end of the day,
nice shirt you got on there, sir.
I was going to say, Clyde, he's wearing your shirt from last week.
It is.
Not your shirt from last week.
A friend of mine gave me this shirt. I try to wear
friends?
Sometimes.
Friends.
I started off with that one, right? I think the first show I was no new friends.
No new friends.
Yeah.
Flashback.
That's why I said that. You have friends.
I think I might have to rumble that one back in there.
All right. Well, we spoke of it. We highlighted or made light of it, but let's go ahead and recap the Division 1 preliminary round to championships. Right, exactly. Round. Right. Still training our minds to not say regionals. But to say the least, it was full of weather. That is the one thing was undeniable on both ends of the East and the West was the weather. Hearing about your guys' uptimes, delays, and whatever, and then us enduring it in the West, which wasn't west of you at all. But
I think, for me, being being in the East, and I'm still always very just the joy of the athletes that make it. And the celebration of parents, the celebrations of families and friends, and coaches, and coaches running down the stands. Oh my God, I can't believe you made it, and stuff like that. The drama of good people, coming down to their last jump or throw. People diving at the line, and even some people that got in because others got DQ'd, stuff like that. Just the drama surrounding this meet, it's just never ending. But man, those young folks were running. They were running and jumping and throwing, and it was Kentucky was. I told Lonnie Green before the meet started. I said, well, just go ahead and take down your facility records board because you're gonna have to redo
it. To that point. And I said this on one of the interviews that I had for my school. The Olympic trials have always been my favorite meet because of the utter cutthroat nature of, how we do things to crown our teams. This is exactly in that same boat and I actually think it's more cutthroat. It's harder to navigate, especially in the field events. And like, that's why you see such huge emotional reactions from athletes, parents, coaches, because this thing is brutal. I mean, and there's so many events across the board that were just like utter bloodbaths. Like, there's huge names that didn't survive this process.
Yep.
And for me, I know that that's what pisses off a lot of people about it. But for me, that's what makes it what it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, maybe more than any, is proof of why this system has to exist. Because when you make people line up and go head to head, all those marks on the list all of a sudden don't matter anymore. When you actually are held accountable for competition, a lot of things change. And for me, the people that are going to arrive in Oregon are the people that absolutely earn their way there. And that's amazing to me. So I love this process, even when it harms me. And trust me,
It did.
as good as we did, and we did great. The two bullets that I didn't get to continue on, oh, that hurt. 3-way tie in the men's long jump and missing the 4x4 by 0.1 seconds is not fun. Not fun at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm going to be a bit of a homer here, but what I'm witnessing, and I'm sure Clyde can speak to this as well, is that those of us that may have lesser resources, may have, you know, in terms of, some people might say lesser talent, all of that, this meet has forced us to be better coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
This meet has forced us to be better motivators. This meet has forced us to be better in terms of preparation. If, you know, it used to be, and let's speak to the jumps, for example. It used to be that, you know, that first 2 flights in the horizontals, right, were just fluff. It was literally a waste of a
Didn't
trip.
matter. Yeah.
You know, why are you even here? You're here, you know, congratulations, you made it, yada, yada, yada. If you take a look at what went down in the 3rd and 4th flights and see the athletes that went above and beyond, set personal bests, you know, athletes that, you know, they may have been just flying, you know, just keeping things here, and they showed up and they did what they had to do to make it. That's the part of this meet, in my opinion, that is so exciting. And there is, I mean, this meet has to happen. It has to happen. You have to line up. You have to do it on the day. And oh, by the way, if you needed a dress rehearsal for the Olympic trials, here it is. Top 48 going head to head, and you have to be ready on that day. It's just that simple.
Yeah. I always think competition is best only because it exposes the best and the worst, if that makes any sense. Like, when you have high level competition, the cream will always rise, but the cream, every now and again, some of the cream will also be thinned from the herd because they're not actually cream. And that happens, and that's brutal. And sometimes they are actually cream, but they just couldn't handle that moment at that time. And I think the brutality of that is the Darwinistic nature of athletics. That's why we do athletics, right? I guess sometimes for me, I just don't like how we got here, if that makes any sense. Like, I don't hate the idea of competing, of lining up head to head to get to the national meet. I just think the so many, you know, machinations that we've come through to get to here, and the way that this has been sold to us so many different times and ways, that has like soured some of this for me. I think if we would have had this from the beginning, right? I think by now we probably all love it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you consider we started with four completely unbalanced regions that made no sense, right? I'm glad we got to where we're at, if that makes any sense.
Right.
I'm warming up to it a lot, to be honest. Like I sat in front of, as I told some of the kids at the school, I sat in front of a television, an iPad, a computer, and my phone, watching 2 regionals and 2 different baseball games simultaneously.
So you know, you spoke to the. I'm sorry, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I was going to say, you know, the survival of the fittest, the Darwinistic nature was amazing, and I think that's what really highlights the ability to have a well-rounded coach, because that's how you prepare for that, is to perform at the right time, one, but also how to manage the emotions and the environment. And so that's part of the preparation piece. And not always on the coach, obviously, because sometimes it's just the athlete who just barrels down the horrible rabbit hole. But you know, that's what we're supposed to tell our athletes. It's, you know, everything leading up to conference, prelims, nationals is practice. You know, and it's so cliche and all those things, but it's so true, you know. So that part. And then I'm going to go a page out of Clyde's book. The portal opening up on the 23rd of day one women's, and you can see it happening.
Yep.
Literally, you just had to wait till after the 800, and it just started to trickle because more people were done. And I'm like, God, this is just not like. I wish they would have just waited till Monday.
Oh,
I get the 45-day thing, and that's why the day landed on there, and blah 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 blah, or 15 days, whatever it is. But it's just, man, it's some people just don't have taste.
The nonsense of the portal, you know, put a damper on the incredible things we saw last weekend.
Oh no, not at all.
Well, so that I have a question. For Lucius, since he was the only one of us at the East. What was the best event in the East?
Oh my goodness. Jeez. Really? That's where we're going tonight? Man.
There's a lot.
I mean, like the women's 100 was special. I mean, in the quarterfinal, the young lady runs, you know, 10.95 in the first round, and then in the second round, the young lady runs 10.90 something in the first heat. And then the young lady that ran 10.95 the day before gets beat by a young lady that runs 10.94 this time, and she runs 10.99. And then in the final heat, Mackenzie Long drops 10.91. Right? Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like overall, the women just shined in the East. I mean, the men weren't bad. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, you think about it. You know, 10.91, 22 flat. You know, 50 point. Like 3 or 4 girls ran 50 point. A couple had never done it before. 12.55 in the short hurdles. 2 girls sub 2 in the 800. 4.05, 2 4.07s in the 1500. You know, Parker did Parker in the longer stuff. You know, one of the young ladies went wild in the steeple. You know, Alita throws 214, 65 meters in the discus. You know, it just never stopped with the women. You know, the women were the star of the show in the East by far. But I mean, I think if there was one event that just made you go, wow, it was probably the 100.
Now, see, I didn't know if you were going to pick the 100, but I totally agree with you, especially considering the unfortunate reality that Jay Sears wasn't there. And somehow you still got 10.92, 10.94, 10.99, 11.02, 11.03, 11.03, 11.06, 11.09.
Yep.
Like that's nutty.
Yes, it is.
Now, I think wasn't the men's 200 in the East like that too? I know the women's meet was. It
wasn't like that. It was good.
It wasn't like that. It was good. It was good. I think there were 3 sub 20 runs, but it wasn't like that.
So I think the
Well,
West will get disagreements. So KST, what was the event in the West?
There were two that I'm still shaking my head at. And, you know, part of the danger of this meet is, you know, let's just say that your requirement is, I want you to get the minimum mark to try and get to the NCAA championships.
Mhm.
Well, this year, I'm telling any recruit they have to jump 652 to
Right.
have a
Yes.
chance.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, you got to come back and jump 1340 in the triple. That was insane.
Mhm.
That was those two events to me were just absolutely off the charts.
And see, again, we're talking about the women.
Yes,
The women stole the show this
off
weekend. They
the
did.
charts.
The
Yeah.
women's long jump was for sure
Oh my
like
gosh.
stupid. I mean, 6'5" for multiple people are
Yes.
not on the plane.
Yes. There are multiple women with 652 that didn't have a better second jump.
Right.
You know, and that's how crazy it was. And, you know, we talked about with all the systems that were floating by to the east, to the west, to the north, I mean, the air must have been seriously iodized. Because folks were jumping out of their minds. But yeah, I mean, that's something that, you know, obviously the runway you're on, the facility you're in, the weather, all of that plays a part.
Well, we gonna get into that one later.
Yeah.
Chewy, is that your event for the West? Because I have a different one.
I have a different one.
Okay.
I do agree that the women's 100 was pretty crazy. The events, not the marks of the men's 100, were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, I'm biased because I was in it. Men's pole vault was crazy. Like,
Oh yeah,
you had,
actually, it actually
you had to
was.
clear 42, like legitimately clear 42 to be in, and it was just
542 to
yeah
make. Wow.
to make it
Yeah.
right. And upon that, you had to jump 42 in a headwind because the wind stopped, the wind swirled.
Yeah.
So that's like not an easy feat at that, you know, and hearing that in the East, they did jump offs at 32.
Yeah.
That's just, you know, that just means we have great vaulting going on right now. And then I think the men's long jump was pretty crazy too. Wasn't there an 8
Yeah,
in there?
it took 770 to make it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
No, it
Sorry
took
to bring that up. I'm
770 with
sorry.
the second best jump.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
With a mark. So apologize. I apologize, but it was good stuff in front of that.
That's it. And so, in defense of the win of the East, because I've heard a lot of talk about how weak the East long jump was. Those guys were jumping into a head, kind of a head crosswind. So, it's because the officials just didn't think to turn it around.
Are you serious?
Because you know
So
it's not like
am I the only person that just gets infuriated by that?
No.
We'll see. Like,
No,
not at all.
on the second day, we come out there now. We jump into headwinds. We ran the hurdles into headwinds. They had to it took an act of Congress to get them to turn the hundreds around, which they finally did. Then we come out there on Thursday for the women, and they're doing the same thing. Like, we're set up to jump into the wind and run the hurdles into the wind. I'm like, guys, like, come
What are
on,
we doing?
it's the NCAA championships. We can't do this, you know. So we got to turn it around. But like, I believe if we don't start fussing about it, we do it again the second day.
Well, and we'll get into this later as well, but for the audience, you guys have to understand, because there's a lot of people, oh, it doesn't matter, it's head to head. Yes, it does, because your marks move forward. But we'll get into that later.
Well, see, and I'll give you a great example of the wind situation. So the men's 100 ran into a headwind. Tarsus Oregon, who has run 10-0 several times this year, gets the biggest headwind at 3.0. And he doesn't get out of the first round. He's one of the top 10 guys in the country.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that is a great segue to my best event in the West.
Okay.
And this is very complex for me because we have two guys that qualified through. But the men's hurdles, sprint
Mhm.
hurdles,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
the most brutal thing I've ever seen in
Yeah.
an NCAA competition. First of all, if you ran 13:53, you're out. Where does that happen? Secondly, and I don't mean this in any negative way, because my heart goes out to all of these guys. If I told you that Antoine Andrews of Texas Tech, Caleb Dean of Texas Tech, Daniel Harold of Texas State, Devontae Ford of Texas Tech, and Connor Schulman of Texas A&M were all going to not qualify,
Yeah.
and still it was 13:52.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no way. There's no way.
Insane.
Yeah, the West is absolutely loaded in the men's hurdles right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
13:24, 13:25, 13:27, and 13:29 at the top.
Yeah.
And like I said, especially, to Connor, who I think is a great kid, getting interviewed.
He's a phenomenal young man.
Watching him hit the track was hard to watch. And I can only
and here's the thing, and I'm glad you said that, because, like, in my opinion, the NCAA has to do better by this. We have extra lanes, right? So now if Connor's healthy enough, let him come back. And if he runs within the little queues, then you just take him to Eugene because there's an extra lane there.
Yeah.
You know, the USA women's 4x1 was on their way to a very good time.
Yeah.
They were going to win the heat. The girl in the lane sticks her hip out, and Darvis Patton, the USC girl, and now USC's at home.
Yeah.
And no fault of their own. But again, we have the extra lane. So there was an egregious foul here. Do something about it. Don't punish the athlete because somebody else. Connor Schulman is a senior.
Yeah.
Who's having a great season, and now it comes to an end because somebody fell and knocked him over.
Yeah.
There's nothing right about that. And again, we have the extra lane. So you take 24. So take 25.
Well, in the men's long jump, they mismarked the kid from TCU on his first attempt. He was behind the board, and they gave him a foul, right? They had him come back after the long jump competition was over to take his final attempt. I'm talking 20 to 30 minutes after the competition was over.
Yep. But
And
they had him.
We're all sitting there like,
when's he going to jump?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had him warm up at the beginning.
In the
beginning. And he sat the 3 rounds. And I mean, obviously I have biased into it. And so when he's going through his phases, I watched the video and I'm like, that's a part of you being stagnant.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have popped it the way you did. And anyways, it was triple jump, but I mean, triple jump is violent as it is, and we all know that. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy how, because if you're on that call, if you're on the coach's call, they gave you A through P as to how they are going to break that tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're obsessed with not taking more than 24. So
Exactly.
I'm gonna get on my soapbox here for a second. One of the things that really bothers me about track and field at the NCAA level, there's a number of coaches who come to the track meet with envelopes full of hundreds and fifties ready to protest, right?
Amen.
So we will allow coaches to come and protest a guy stepping on a line or a guy hooking a hurdle. Now, if the official didn't call it, it didn't bother your team, then you shouldn't be doing that, in my opinion. I'm not the guy at the track trying to see who else's athletes are doing something wrong so it benefits mine. But an athlete gets fouled. Okay, the USC girl gets violently fouled. Connor Schulman's career as a collegiate hurdler is over now because somebody fell in his lane. But we won't do something about that. So let's tell people to put their envelopes and their $50 and $100 bills away, and let's do what's right by the student athlete. Right. So that's not something you need to be protested. Like, the officials saw it, it happened, you had video proof of it. Just tell USC, I'm gonna either do one or two things. You base it on the fact that they were going to qualify, and you move on to the next round. You put them down in lane 1 and let them go for it. Right. Okay. Or you make them run again to earn that. But you can't just tell them, I'm sorry somebody caused you to in your season. But yet, if they'd have stepped on the line, you'd allow somebody to pay $100 to protest it.
The nature of the meet presents situations like this every single year. When
Yes,
you
it
have
does.
athletes this talented in situations
Yes.
like this where the stakes are that high, you have to be prepared for moments like that. You have to
Yes.
be, yeah, and that's the part I think the NCAA doesn't really understand. Like
Yeah.
Right.
these kids are
Not
getting
black
to
and
their
white.
own.
See, because we have people that are in charge that aren't coaches or athletes, right? They're officials. They're people that they want to do the technical stuff and then go by the book on things. But what about the human right to things? What about the human nature of things? What about what happens to the athlete who's been training their butts off since September or even August in some cases, whose season was just ruined by no fault of their own? And you just look at them and go, sorry, nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
that was
that
tough. That was really tough for me to explain to a friend and colleague of mine who was there watching the meet and saw Connor go down. And all the points he was making, he was right. And I just had to tell him, I was like, bro, I hear you, but understand he's out. It's wrong. And they absolutely could do blah, 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 but they're not going to do it because the 24 is the 24 and that's the end of it.
Right.
And man, it was tough. Like it was really, really tough. I really like that kid.
No, I talk to him every time I see him. We have a great relationship. And when somebody told me that happened to him, I was like, man, that's horrible. That's horrible. You know, and I knowing him as I do, like he's a big team guy. I know he feels horrible that he can't help his team now.
Yep.
But to your point, Lucius, about the protest, our 4x1 got through, right? There was a controversy on one of the top teams of whether they were in the zone or out the zone. And somebody's like, you should protest that. I was like, why? We in. That ain't my business.
Exactly.
That ain't got nothing to do with me.
What is there a protest on your end? That's the thing.
I'm-
Like people
I'm
just
like,
want to protest a protest.
But people do that. I mean, like I had a
Yeah.
coach come to me, and I'm not going to call him out. He came to me and said, you need to protest the hurdles because this school's hurdlers were hooking the hurdles, and this will give your team a chance to win the meet. My response to him was, no, you think it'll give your team a chance to win the meet. And even if it did give my team a chance, I'm not protesting that. That's not who I am. It's not what we do. But coaches do that
all the time.
You know, they're walking around looking for other people to make mistakes. Put your money in your pocket. You want to beat somebody, get your team to run faster.
Beat them outright.
Get your team to jump further. Right. You know, the number of times we've heard somebody, well, okay, now this is even crazier in this day and age, right? Because they have the TV screen right there at the long jump. The number of people that protest other people's jumps.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, okay, so you have the television, it freeze frames it, the guy puts up the flag, right, white or red. But you go protest it anyway. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me.
Before we get off the regionals topic,
prelims. Come on now, you said
dang
very
it,
clearly.
see, one of y'all said it. Does the venue matter?
Absolutely.
The venues absolutely matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
look.
let me.
Okay. I'll just put it like this: long jumping in Kentucky, long jumping in Arkansas, and I'm done.
Yes.
Right.
Okay,
so then let me
the radius of the track at Arkansas versus the radius of the track at Kentucky.
Yep.
I mean, it's not, the it's a little warmer in Arkansas than it was in Kentucky. I know Kentucky was very warm this year. But like, there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Look.
And Kentucky, don't get me wrong, Kentucky put on a great meet. They busted their butts. They got it done. They did.
The surface in Fayetteville. Woo.
Mondo versus the 25-year-old Bynum. Yeah.
Listen,
maybe not 25 years old, 10-year-old. I was like, it's a little exaggeration.
I'm just over these crazy locations. Like, I'm not trying to be funny. We were in a tornado. That is very preventable because we don't have to go to the Midwest in May. So, and listen, I'm literally doing research to figure out how I can be part of the solution because, we don't have a facility here, right? If I can join with coaches in my conference or something and put in bids that we can have this thing in places where, tornadoes are unlikely to happen That would be cool. Because, you know, the excuse is, oh, well, such and such didn't bid on it. I'm over that. Like, just figure it out like you figure everything else out.
Yep.
And in the West, this is a simple thing. Just put it at Mount Sac, there, everybody will be happy.
Yep.
Like, it's fine. But yes, sir.
Order.
I would go further and just say there are tracks in the East, and for sure the easy answer is Mount Sac in the West, where nobody has an actual home track advantage. And I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Like, do I think the track makes Oregon the national champions, more times than not, or Arkansas indoors? Not necessarily, but man, that is a humongous advantage to sleep in your own beds and be in your own locker rooms and go out to the track and run on the track you train on every day.
Yeah. For sure.
Right? Like when it's at North Florida, no shots being taken at North Florida, but North Florida is probably not in the trophy hunt. So yeah, it's in Florida, but it's not at Florida. Right? Huge difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference. And I just would love to see that. Right? There's perfectly good tracks.
That's too much like right, sir. So we make this we make this deal out of, okay, so to be fair, we need to move it around so everybody gets a chance. It's in their climate. But wait, we take it to Oregon every year for the big meet.
Exactly.
As we should.
So no, we should not.
No.
So we move it around for the prelim, but we don't never move the national side.
Nope.
So we're not consistent in anything we do. Right?
No, in all seriousness, like, this happened a couple years ago when it was at A&M, and A&M has a phenomenal facility.
Back at A&M next year.
Right.
Next year. Yeah.
Like, if I hadn't had my phone in my hand at the moment, I wouldn't have seen the third schedule change in time to call my team back to the hotel and be like, yo, abort the mission. They just changed it by 3 hours.
Yeah.
They were about to leave. They were about to come to the track.
We were there. We got there probably around 11 something, and we had to wait. It was too much of a hike to head back to the hotel. Kids had to sit there and figure out how to entertain themselves for 3 hours.
Right. And all I'm saying is, if it's in a place where it's not going to happen that way, it would just be easier. I mean, listen, at one point I was convinced that they were changing the schedule based on the East schedule changes, just so it could all match up.
I said
it didn't make any sense at all.
I said that.
Yeah.
I did say that. The night after we talked solutions about your guys' schedule change, and then we got ours, I was like, I feel like they had a conversation.
Well, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
It felt like
I'm
it.
sure they did.
I mean, the hammer throw. The hammer was contested until 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, so you love this one. The women's 10K Thursday night.
That's right.
Okay, it's supposed to go off at 6 o'clock, right? So they say we're going to delay it until whenever, because we think bad weather's coming.
We think,
right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So now it was supposed to start at 6:10. They declared a lightning delay at 6:53.
Oh my gosh.
Definitely would have been done.
So definitely would have been done. So now they don't run that race until like 10:30 at night.
Yep.
Because they made this decision to wait for 50 minutes for it to storm. Yeah. But in their defense, I'm a crusher for that one, but they crushed it. They crushed the weather the rest of the week. They nailed it every time. They just screwed up the 10K. That was the only one they got wrong. They did.
So
can I stick one more thing in there?
I got one more thing too.
Can someone please explain to me why we go to a track meet that has no score?
We're not doing
it's
that.
the prelims. It's
No,
part of
it's
the
that's the point.
It's a qualifying round.
Okay.
It's week 1A.
Well,
I
you
got
asked the
1B next
question.
week.
That's your
I
Would
got
you
it.
would you
Yeah.
like the prelim round scored, sir? Would you like to bring back that part of the original setup that
Yes.
there's a champion of
Yes.
the prelims?
How do you do
Yes.
that?
How they did it in its first maturation.
You
just
I guess you just score the
1
12
through
that,
8.
the
No,
12 that qualify, you score 1 through 8.
But in the first maturation of this, there was a final that had 8 or 9 people in it.
Yes.
There's no final that has 8 or 9 people in it. You
Mhm.
can't score a meet that has 3 heats that qualify 12 to another site.
I mean, you're
Weird.
correct, sir. But that will bring me to other points. So I'll just shut up. It's
Yeah,
the first
behave
round.
yourself, man.
It's the first round.
It's the East and West preliminary round.
Yep. It
No, so
means more.
I
March
was
Madness.
the only thing I was
I
thinking,
heard that.
I heard it too. I heard it too. Go ahead, Cohen. He's being a butt.
So the only thing and let's go back to, the disparity in the horizontals, right? So you have a young lady that jumped 6:15 or 6:16 to make it to the dance. And she's seeing the results just like everybody else. And as a coach, you have to be able to say, hey, take a look at the big picture. All right. You were on an inferior venue. You were at an inferior venue. You're probably jumping into headwinds. And for the next 10 days, you have to know you earned your spot just like everybody else, and you're going to line up and do what you need to do. Right. And I'm speaking to a very small, group of individuals, but you cannot tell me that there aren't individuals right now going, man, like, just based on what I just saw, I'm going to get crushed. And it's not the case. Things will even out.
Well, see, when it comes to the field events, 1st and 12th are the same thing.
Exactly.
That's right.
It don't matter.
Yeah.
That's what we tell our kids.
Yeah.
You can be 1st, you can be 12th. As long as you get in the top, we're good.
Exactly.
You got a shot.
I don't
care what runway you get on in Oregon. They're the same.
They're the same.
Before the EP starts popping off, in his opinion, they're both terrible, but that's the EP's opinion. So.
There's statistics to back that up.
We're waiting for the next layer to be laid on those runs.
We know that was coming from him, so I just said it for him.
So wait. It's funny to Clyde's point though. That's the one part about it that does remind me very much of the trials. Like I always say to people, the real winners at the Olympic trials are the people who get 3rd.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's the only place. It's the only place where 3rd and 1st are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So and the reason I say they're the real winners is because the people who are 1 and 2 are like, yeah, we up in there. The person who is 3rd is like, damn, I'm so glad I wasn't that person.
Yeah, exactly.
Fourth
the
and
chasm
13th,
between 3rd and 4th are woo Lord.
Fourth and trials and 13th here are just
being the coach of a 4th place person at the Olympic trials is gut wrenching.
Oh my gosh.
Gut wrenching. Like it's like you're sick to your stomach.
I got one more question for the panel related to preliminary rounds.
Good job.
Because this has been a hot topic in the social spaces, and I would like a higher level of opinion. When you are evaluating, because we all do this every year, right? The West versus the East, whatever. When you're evaluating what was better in any event, are you looking at the ceiling or are you looking at the floor?
Okay, so you're talking about me evaluating the West versus the East?
Right. If you wanted to form an opinion.
I don't do that.
But you know that people do, so I'm asking you to help them.
Okay, so I'm going to tell them to stop doing it. I'm going to tell them. Because it doesn't matter.
Oh,
right? So my thing is this, okay, when it comes to the preliminary competition, right? Your job is to just get to the NCAA championship.
Yes.
That's your job.
Of course.
Now obviously you don't want to be a little Q and get stuck down in lanes, 2 or 3, but you want to be a big Q. But you're not going through there going, wow, they did this in the West, they did that in the West. Like it doesn't matter. Like even to your point, girl jumps 6:15, the girl jumps 6:50. Okay, I'm gonna be on the same runway with you. Let's get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
Like who cares what you jump? Because so and I'm gonna pick at a scab here because there were 3 or 4 girls in the West that came in at 680 and 670, jumped 620.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Okay.
we want to
All
discuss. We want to discuss the 0 for 4.
All right.
Scab pulled.
All right. All
We
right.
could discuss the 0 for 4. I mean,
No, we don't. No, we don't need to do that. We don't.
True.
Let's move on.
Sometimes
look,
there is
look,
shade
look,
even when
Clyde-
and there is no sun.
Clyde led me down that petty path. He did.
You just stole all of the air out of me. I couldn't even talk.
he led me
This
down
is-
that petty path. He did.
So Sir Lucius was saying
God.
this, and all I could do was this. Golly.
I'm just saying.
Wow.
Ooh. All right. Well,
for the culture.
Well.
One time for the culture.
For the
Wow.
culture.
oh my gosh, I can't. I can't. I didn't know why we let that go on so long.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay. So
I mean, I haven't hung out with you guys in a while, so it's on my chance to be petty. So I
Yeah,
just
buddy.
threw it out
okay,
there.
so all I have to say is this episode releases on Friday, and we're all in Eugene on Monday.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Hey, I'm here for it. I'm good.
Oh my gosh.
Because all I'm gonna say was there were no lies told. So
No.
Chew, please.
I know. But wait, so funny part. Who else got called out by screen name this weekend?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Every week.
Mm-hmm.
I was
yeah,
like,
like I
ah.
had 4 different people. Like one guy called me Coach Lucius. He's like, man, you got to get back on the show. We miss you. I'm like, I'm coming back, man. Just give me
That's
some time.
hilarious.
But like, and then a high school kid said, aren't you the Sir Lucius on the LLC? I'm like, yeah, that's me.
That's adorable.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah. Pretty funny. So half second off of that. I don't know about your athletes, the student athletes that you all work with. I don't know how tuned in or keen in to your personalities on the tiles every week. Not all of the athletes that I work with are. And so a couple of them past weekend were like, Coach, like you're kind of popular. Like people like actually know who you are. Thanks, jerk face. Yeah. Anyways, I always the big meets. It's always fun to see how much that happens. But okay, so evolving that topic, should collegiate athletes with legitimate, big, bold, capitalized word, legitimate shots at the Olympics prioritize the NCAA meet specifically or the US trials?
As somebody who's in the middle of this right now, I would say that it depends on who the kid is, what the school is, and the relationships that are there. Because some coaches, and we've all seen examples of it, some coaches look at that situation from their own bubble, their own lens, and their attitude is, hey, my job is NCAA's. We are funding your endeavor here. We're going to focus on that business. The rest of it, figure it out. Some other coaches are very, very open to those situations and will go as far as redshirting the kid all together just to let them prep, for their Olympic endeavors. I understand both of those. Right now, I'm very proud to say that we're in the middle of a situation like that. And our young lady, we sat down, we plotted it out, and it's been a very cool process to know that we're doing everything we can to support her making her Olympic team, and she's doing everything that she can to support us trying to do as well as at nationals as possible. And I think that if you communicate it early and you set a table and set a standard, and everybody's on kind of the same level of respect with that, I think it can work. And I would hope that that version of it would be more common. But I know that either of the first two versions I spoke of are usually the practice. I'm happy that we're right down the middle with it. And so far things are going extremely well. And hopefully we can check all those boxes for her.
I'll say this, and sometimes the truth is hiding right in front of you. You know, and I'm going to pick on Sir Lucius here, because one of the calling cards of Sir Lucius's methodology is to start his season later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The general practice for myself, coaches in our situation, is immediately after NCAA indoors, to the first outdoor meet we normally host, get your first round mark out of the way, get your prelim mark out of the way, you're in shape, you have, and that works for what it works for. But when you're talking about being ready for the end of June, right? And you already have going through the gauntlet of conference week off, first round week off, nationals, and then 2 weeks off. That is a completely separate season. That is a season in itself. So, obviously, when you have first world problems like Sir Lucius does, it is crucial. It is absolutely crucial that the athletes are ready. And if you have to sacrifice, crazy good marks at the beginning of the year, so be it. Because the goal is the goal, right? So I myself, I can admit that I'm learning about this now that our team is evolving, and now we're starting to have athletes that are looking to represent their teams. I may have to change my methodology, because, what I'm dealing with now is, kids that have gone through conference and first round that are exhausted. They're absolutely exhausted, and it's a different type of mentality. It's a different type of thought process that goes into sacrificing the early part of the season. And let's get a good training block in there to prepare you for what's coming June and beyond.
Okay, so let me defend my first world problem. First and foremost,
that was not an attack. It was the truth. It is what it is.
So what I will say to you is this: is that I'm going to start with the fact that, and this, I'm not going to help my case here, but start with the fact that the number one issue I have with what you just described is that I have to taper you to get a mark that's in the top 48 in the country, like in your half of the country, right? So, like, if I've got to taper you, I've got to go to the other side of the country to get regional qualifying marks, that's an issue for me. Like, that makes no sense to me. So the reason we start later is because we're very confident that we can get regional marks.
Of course.
Right?
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
So, and then the other part of it is that also, I subscribe to, there's only so many bullets in the gun, in the chamber. So, like, we try to save those. We have to, if you're going to run until July and August, you have to train.
Absolutely.
So that's the whole philosophy behind what we do. And I think the biggest thing for me, like I said, is like, I said to a guy this year, like, we can open up at LSU and get the regional mark, right? Let's just get healthy. Like, don't worry about that. Like, but there's too many people that think like, wow, see, they've got to learn to separate indoor mindset versus outdoor mindset.
Right.
The indoor mindset, we absolutely have to check mark. The hardest meet, we've talked about that, to qualify on the planet. Outdoors, just get to the regional meeting and compete is the key. So that's why we do what we do. But you have to in my opinion anyway, factor in when you have athletes that can represent their countries, you have to factor in training to get them ready for that as well as the NCAA season, to be fair to them.
I love this question only because it's so different depending on who's answering it. But I think I have, because of the way my life has changed, I have started to think almost exclusively globally. And with there being so many more international athletes in the NCAA system, and there being so many more older people in the NCAA system of track and field, I think it becomes a real live conversation about what is the ultimate goal for the athlete that we're talking about. I don't know about everybody else, but I always start at the end and work backwards, right? So if I'm coaching KST and he has Olympic finals level abilities, right? Then I start there and I work everything backwards and make every other decision along the way make sense. So in that case, he's not opening up at the UTSA opener. Right? Because if indeed you're good enough to do, like to Sir Lucius's point, if indeed you are good enough to do that, if I open you up at Tom Jones, which we're going to go to, or the LSU invite, which we're going to go to, right? Or at the conference meet, which you're going to be at, you should be able to be in the top 48 in one half of the country. That should not be something I should have to coach you up to. But to be clear, from conference till your trials or conference until the games or whatever, like that's a season that we got to plan out, map. We're going to, that may be why you don't double. That may be why you do double, like to a point, whatever it is, all those things have to make sense to me. I'll be honest, the question came about because I know of a young man who hit a very, very difficult Olympic standard. And he's kind of the best person on his collegiate team. And the conversation was had, and I was involved with, well, the only thing that will be a detractor to you is there's only like 9 days between the NCAA meet and USA's in this particular event area. Yeah, you're right. I wonder if my school just like let me not do the NCAA meet and just do the trials. My response was, no chance. There's absolutely no way that's going to happen. But what if I qualify in other events for the national meet? Well, I mean, you got a shot at that, but that still is probably a no-go. The young man called me 2 weeks later and said he got it cleared. And I was like, that's amazing. I'm not even sure if it's right, but it's definitely amazing. Right? Because at the end of the day, if I work at a university, my job is to try to score as many points as I can with my university athletes. The trials is cute. It's awesome. It's, it goes on in all of our resumes, but my job, like my paycheck, comes from points we score at the national meet and points we score at the conference meet. And you're the best bullet we got in this gun with like 3 bullets. I'm probably not going to green light that. So I thought it was a good conversation, a good question to ask because it's very interesting. I still don't know what was right. I don't know if that decision that was made in that particular regard was right or wrong.
Well, I think that the thing you have to factor in here is whatever the coach thought was best, right? And if the coach thought that they could still be successful at the national championships, it's not going to affect the program, it's going to not affect his job, then it's okay. But like I had this discussion years and years ago with a group of athletes who were accusing me of not caring about their Olympic aspirations, which was an absolute joke. But at the end of the day, Jeremy Foley, who was my AD at the time, paid me to be successful at the NCAA level.
Mm-hmm.
So if I walk into my AD and go, "Hey man, we're going to really be terrible at the NCAA championships. We're going to have three.
But
We're going to have three Olympians this year, right? Guess what? You need to go find another job, brother. I know where that conversation's going, right? So like you have to exactly, you have to take care of your job first, or you won't have one. It's just that simple.
And to a lesser extent, and this will be a whole different conversation, the schools that prioritize conference over nationals.
Nationals, yeah.
And that is real. That is very
Well,
real.
that's the majority.
Yeah.
That's the vast majority.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, I've been told that my brain prioritizing nationals over conference is somehow wrong. And my answer when I get told that, I'm like, it depends on who you work for.
Exactly.
It literally depends on who you work for. But I prefer to shoot at the highest level and let the rest of it play out the way it's going to play out. But there are, I'd say the vast majority of coaches in our profession, head coaches in our profession, are shooting at the conference championship.
Yep.
Prelim to topic after next. That's an interview question, folks.
Yes.
Highlight that one. That's an interview question.
All right.
Is the emphasis. You have to know that, because if it's not aligning with yours, then something's gonna happen. It ain't gonna be good. Moving on. Bowerman predictions. 1 male, 1 female. That's it. None of this 3. Not splitting. No 4 on the
So
ticket.
Well,
I would like to vote that Parker Valby gets both of them.
I was gonna say listen, if there's ever been a non-controversial Bowerman winner year, it's Parker Valby.
Well, I think there's one for each gender.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting.
You think there's a runaway male?
I do.
Who?
I know who she's gonna say. At least
I think it's Leo.
I was gonna say it's probably Leo.
You're not biased, are you?
I definitely am, but I don't see how else. I
Okay.
definitely am, but I don't see someone else.
So here's the thing.
Who's in the air?
I do.
Here's the thing.
Oh, Pinnock.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make everybody mad.
But Pinnock doesn't do multiple events like that.
Hey.
Oh, okay.
The decathlon is one event. I'm sorry.
Yes.
No, but he's in the disc.
He qualified for the national meet in the discus.
Okay.
Yeah, all that's cool.
But anyway, go ahead.
And you could in the long jump too. He's an 8-meter long jumper too, right?
Yeah, all that's cool. Chewy.
That's part of it. That's part of the decathlon.
Chewy and EP.
Whoa. Those are her views. I didn't give mine yet.
Oh, I know. But
you were
what I'm gonna say,
don't let him come soft now. He was defending her just 2 seconds.
What I'm gonna say
I was defending her.
What I'm gonna say is probably gonna offend you more than her.
Awesome. Let's go.
There will never be a reality, righteous or not, where a decathlete is a runaway Bowerman winner. It will always be controversial.
Except for the fact that it already happened.
Nope. No. When? Who?
You know who I'm going to say.
I know who you're going to say.
Oregon.
Ashton Eaton?
Yes.
If you remember, again, I said right or wrong. I agree that Ashton should have won it, but that year, there was discussion. Like it was close. Who else was on that team?
I don't know who you were having these discussions with because the voting wasn't close.
I hear you.
No, and who else was there to consider that?
Listen, I didn't say I agreed with it.
No, I'm asking a question. Who else was on? Who else? I don't remember who was on the dais, as you guys call it. I don't know who was up there.
Let me pull it up.
All right. Well, let's. So we got to give 1 male and 1 female. That's what you're saying. You don't want a dais, Chewy?
Nope.
By the way, I can't call you Chewy. That's what Clyde calls you. That feels weird. Well, on the women's side, I'm gonna vote for Parker Valby. Like at this point, you would need Johnny Cochran level arguing skills to convince me of another person in the conversation on the women's side.
Yeah, no. You could just look a couple years, like the last couple years, you could have argued you needed 4 to 5 chairs We don't need any chairs. Just put Parker on the stage and do what you're gonna do.
Show her video. Let Grant tell some jokes.
Okay, who's your male? We're drawing that out.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. Oof. I'm like the governor. I feel like it's a 2-horse race, but right now I'm waiting to see one of them blink.
Yep.
I mean, I think one is number 1 in the world and one is number 2, something like that. I think that's right.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think Pinnock's number 2 in the world and Leo's number 1 on the yearly list.
I'm pretty sure that's right.
Sounds right.
And here again, this isn't a case where like I couldn't pick a number 3. I could pick 15 number 3s, right? Like I think the third chair is going to be decided in Eugene.
You are in violation of the rules because
Thank
she
you. I was
asked you for
just
one
gonna
person
interject.
in your.
Well, I
Bring
got
along.
one name that's not either one of those people, and
Fine.
I think
Okay.
it's lost your mind.
I am going to pick Leo.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Because
I
I
don't-
think Leo's going to win by the largest margin of any NCAA champion.
Yeah, I
At
think
the
you
meet.
guys. I think you guys are crazy.
Okay.
Okay, who's your
No,
person?
I'm
He-
saying
no, he- no, no,
at
he's,
the
No, I'm
meet,
interested.
at the
he's
meet.
going to win the decathlon by the largest.
Win the
margin, not
decathlon.
not the
Yeah, he's
his
gonna win the
winning victory-
decathlon.
That's what I'm talking about. I think his decathlon victory is going to be by almost an event.
Okay, that's cool. The Bowerman front runner on the men's side right now is Nico Young.
You're high.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know what you mean. But we all
Okay.
know that one outdoor title is equal to 2 indoor title in the Bowerman chase. It always has been. It always has been.
But okay. So Nico's not gonna win outdoor?
That's an interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
I
I'll
just
say
can't wait to
this.
see them sitting next to each other. Yes,
When we
Leo,
went to
little
indoor
ass Nico.
NCAAs, I think every single person on this dais knew Nico Young was going to win 1, if not 2 titles. I don't think anybody on this dais is currently willing to say for sure Nico Young's going to win anything.
Nico
You're
Young
a bold, brave man.
Nico Young gonna win what he wants to run.
Well, we know what he wants to run. What's he entered in?
Right.
What event is he entering at the meet?
Let's see.
I didn't actually watch the West 10 to see if he ran that.
No, he didn't run the 10.
So he's just running the 5.
Yes.
Definitely lessens his chances.
I don't even remember those races. Jeez.
Because you didn't stick around for him, Chewy.
I did. Well, I was in the venue. I had to attend.
So, and maybe I'm tripping, maybe I'm crazy. Nico won how many national championships indoors?
2.
He broke how many national records?
2,
3?
right?
3, 2?
The mile and the 5K.
I think he had a third obscure distance record.
Did he break the 3K record as well?
I believe so.
Maybe,
So,
yeah.
So when the dust settles and he wins this 5,000 meters outdoors, 3 national titles and 3 minimum national records, you think the decathlete's going to trump that?
Yes,
Yes.
No chance.
because you say no chance. You got to understand something. What he did indoors is top 3 scores in the world.
Mhm.
What he currently has already done outdoors is number 1 score in the world.
No, I understand.
If he does something of that nature again, but anyway, that's my vote. So you got Nico.
Yeah.
Big League's got
I have Pinnock.
And I think that's a really good that's a really good one too. What you got there? First world problems.
Delicious.
I my personal favorite is Pinnock because of the ease. I mean, he's going to dominate the long jump
Yes,
just
he
as
is.
much as Leo's going to dominate the decathlon. But I can see a world where Nico Young wins it though. I can.
Sure.
Because we have
At least
to
we know for
understand
sure we got to have 3 chairs.
we also have to understand the audience that Nico is playing to, and I will leave that right there.
Amen.
Mhm.
Amen.
Man. All right. The irony is, did anybody else open the Bowerman watch list email today? Because I didn't. I did definitely
didn't
just
either.
deleted it. Oops. When I saw this
Oh
topic, I was
my
like, oh, I
God.
should have clicked on it instead of just deleting it. Anyhow, last but very not ever least, the carousel. Carousel just popped one today. I mean, we already knew it, but it is official.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll start since I put 2 quarters in the carousel. The fact that Florida State and UCLA are both open should tell everybody what's coming. Right? Like, those are 2 gigantic Power 5 jobs already obscuring the Kansas State job that's open,
Mhm.
the Boston job that's open, and the Boise State job that's open. But I don't think any of us thinks that that's the last of the big Power 5 jobs that's going to be open.
No.
No, it's not.
So yeah, there's 2 quarters.
There clearly is a movement afoot, and I think the type of leader that these programs are looking for is changing. And you know, and with what's coming down the pipe, I mean, there's a certain set of skills I think that coaches are going to have, head coaches are going to have. So yeah, I mean, the era, the new era, is here. It's here. So the coaches that have adjusted, that have adapted, are the ones that are going to stay and continue to be successful. It's that simple.
I think when you talk about those 2 jobs, as you mentioned, those are 2 of the better jobs in the country. We have to give Bob Braven his flowers. I mean, he did a phenomenal job.
Good.
Multiple ACC championships on both the men's and women's side. And I think they were 3-time national champions in track and field. Even being as high as, I want to say, second in cross country, second or third in cross country one year. So, that for me, I just want to say great job, Bob.
Yep.
Not going to assume that at all. The potential that those head jobs create. There's also a bunch of little jobs already on the horizon. We talked about the not interviewing that was happening at the prelim meet. We'll not talk about the not interviewing that'll be happening starting Monday. But I mean, you've got jobs in the mid-major that are open left, right, and center. You've got the D2 jobs, D3 jobs, NAIA jobs. I've already seen for social media the G5 and D2 jobs that are getting filled. So there's
another big retirement that I think is an excellent job if you can get it. And everybody always sleeps on this because it's not seen as one of these, attention grabbing things. Yale just opened.
Yeah, I was just
and
about to
if
say
you are
that.
interested in a career you could do a lot worse in this world by being the boss at an Ivy.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
listen, Ivy takes care of their people. I'll tell you that much. So I think there's going to be a lot of people interested in clamoring for Yale position.
There are a lot to name, so we're not going to go through all of them. But plenty of head coaching jobs, plenty of assistant jobs that are already opened and being shopped around and whatnot. So definitely, if you are in that mode, your resume should be updated and looking prim and pretty and sparkly and glittery already. Because if not, you're already about 3 weeks behind. So send that out, get that going. But those are the big ones. We'll keep you updated because you know what's happening. So,
Yep.
with all of that said, ladies and gents, it's been fun. Now this is the lively one. We got all kinds of engaged in this one. So, without further ado, everyone have a great weekend. Travel safe to Eugene if you're headed there. If not, make sure your ESPN Plus subscription's up to date. But we'll see each other next week. Bye, everyone.